afternoon. Move now on to a session on AI. Opportunities abound, or should I say opportunities abound? Because we have a question mark at the end of that. So this one's in conjunction with Digital Wonderlab, and our thanks to them. AI impacts everything and everyone, especially entrepreneurs, whether it's dynamic change opportunities abound, but also job and business destruction, creative or otherwise. We heard a lot about that from Bruno yesterday in his talk about AI. But what's the impact of this seismic shift? The democratization effect, opportunities, creative destruction, and how are entrepreneurs using AI inside their own business? Will Amara's law apply once more? All of this and more with our panel, so please join me in welcoming up Nathan Baranowski of the digital impact agency Digital Wonderlab, Rosie Bennett of Bristol Innovations, Kyle Poyer-Emmanuel of Integrevise, and Ali Rohafza of Altered Carbon. Come on up, guys.
Thanks, Steph. Yeah, if you grab these seats and it's wonderful
spaces. Yeah, that's
ideally you would sit under your names, and you're very nearly there. To the extent it matters, it's clearly doesn't matter that much, does it? So let's begin with you. We've got Nathan in a sec. We've got two of our panelists here who have great experience of AI within their own businesses, but also particularly for clients, and that's Nathan and Rosie, your vast experience in different ways and with the clients and companies you work with currently, so not just Bristol Innovations, but Kelpie and EarSwitch as well. But we also have two companies whose whole business is about AI. So we've got the iterations through different sectors. We've got the practical building of businesses, rapidly growing businesses in both cases, are two companies in the middle. But let's begin with you, Nathan. Specifically, how you are using AI within your agency.
So I was going to actually start with from yesterday's conversation with Bruno, where I think everyone walked out of this room who was here and went, oh my God, my life is over and my business is ruined, as he presented on 3 slides how he could do everything in 10 minutes. The reality is some of that is true, but that's a degree of naivety around what the reality is out there today. So the way that we use AI is very much about thinking about it as an augmentation, a human plus world. There's 1,000 things that we do today where we need people in our teams, we need better advisors, which we've just heard constantly for the last 2 days. Well, AI can be that, but just like we'll have conversations outside having coffee, you need to know someone, you need to know what they're like. And AI doesn't do that out of the box. It's just like meeting some random person on the street and starting talking to them about can they do finance information. Well, they have a bit of knowledge. So a bit like a good person down the pub who's very good at pub quizzes, have a lot of general knowledge. So you need to teach it and you need to tell it what you want it to be. And that's the really important bit. So using the AI to help you to do that and prompt it and build those tools and then use them in the right way. So every one of the tools that Bruno shared yesterday have a specific purpose. So using it in the right way to do what you want to do. And that gets you there faster, but also let it be a critical friend. And that's really important. So we use a lot of AI to stop us being an echo chamber. So if everyone else is talking about X, why don't we talk about Y instead? What are they talking about around X and what does that matter? Or simply, this is what I need to send to this client as a proposal. Actually, does it actually answer the bloody question they're asking? Really simple things like that where it can accelerate very quickly.
That critical friend piece is just terrific. It's critical friend, but also perhaps zigging where you're zagging, and it just gives a different perspective. And it's up to you. You know, it's not about AI takes over what you do. It's a tool. You look at it and think, fair point, whatever. Alternatively, no, whatever. Rosie, to you, talk about some of the clever iterations of AI that you have seen, particularly with perhaps EarSwitch and Kelpie, and perhaps describe your role with each of those.
Yeah, so I think AI as a technology is a rising tide. And so this creates this democratization effect, but it also creates opportunity. But there's also an access and an equity piece there, which I think Zara did mention in her talk. For me, I'm at the innovation end, and it's great to talk this morning so much about the exit. The optimism is brilliant, but I'm generally, my space is the other end of that. I'm working with companies who are starting out, but also who are already growth companies, but facing a new challenge through AI disrupting, new startups coming through to disrupt, but also what can you do within your company already to capture the opportunity. And I think I see this in two sides. So there's product and there's productivity. So anywhere that you've got moving parts within your organization, that you've got data, that you've got processes that are repeat processes, iterative processes, there's an opportunity there to use AI in terms of productivity. But then in terms of product, anywhere you've got data, there's potential to create new product streams. And if you don't, then these new startups coming through will. So that's a challenge.
It's a great differentiation, and I'm immediately thinking, of course, about our particular business, Media Clash, and I hope everyone is also thinking about theirs. The differentiation between product, the offering, and productivity. Kyle, let's come to you with Integrevise. Give us the nutshell, the sum up of this business, and we'll come on to the application of AI. Yours is both a business which is it's based on AI, but it's about the use of AI in one particular and vital area.
Yeah, so our main target is higher education, and we use AI to facilitate oral examinations with students to try and determine their level of understanding of their actual assignments and submissions. So that's pretty much in a nutshell.
And a little bit more than that, it's, of course, all students, there's some stats, I think, just yesterday about the prevalence of students, of course, using AI. Of course they do, their dissertations, theses, essays, whatever. But yours is about validating their understanding. So it's not just cut, paste, regurgitate, it's have they absorbed. Just talk a little bit more about that process.
Yeah, so with the emergence of, as we all know, ChatGPT, the perplexities, many lecturers have been finding that students are literally copy and pasting verbatim from ChatGPT to the assignment, to the point where even the little message that's at the bottom of ChatGPT where it says, "Will you help me?" They're actually including that in their submissions.
Add some extra quantification here.
The cheating is that bad. So our objective is to kind of incentivize the appropriate use of AI and ChatGPT, and not necessarily fight against it, but engage with it, but use it in an appropriate manner to engage, to stimulate that critical thinking element side of things when it comes to education. So that's the main basis of it. And by having an oral examination, what we do is we pretty much read their assignment, or the system pretty much reads their assignment, identifies strengths and weaknesses, areas of interest, to then generate questions to ask that student, and then it's adaptable in that if they give a response that's minimal, it can probe them to provide further detail, just to kind of extract the understanding of how well they understand this topic based on their actual written submission.
And just one last on that latter point, they have to respond and show that they've understood, but what's to stop them asking AI to help them to show that they have understood it? It's in real time, I guess, the validation process.
Yeah, so it's in real time. So we've put guardrails on our system where if they was to ask a direct question of, "Can you tell me the answer?" we take that as, well, no, we can't. You're responding, a man saying, "We can't tell you the answer. You need to provide your explanation," and that'll be marked down. So the idea is to give lecturers an insight into what students actually understand based off their lectures and their teachings.
In some respects, there's a direct parallel with what Rosie was just talking about. The productivity of the student is having AI find all the data and interpretations, but the product, i.e. their thinking, that's where there is key, and that's what you're seeking to delve deeply into. So, Rohafza, tell us about Altered Carbon. You develop, quote, AI-powered scent detection sensors. And by the way, we first got to hear about your business through the EntreConf Awards, so and congratulations for being a finalist there. Tell us what you do.
Okay. What we make is a little chip that has receptors on it, just like your nose, and it can smell things, but we have to train it. So all the places we use AI is from the starting, like our platform, how you show it something. The first time you smelled popcorn and someone told you that was popcorn, that's how we train our device. So we use large language models at the first instance to help people do the best experiments. So how do you collect this data in the correct way? We tell them so they can ask questions like, I'm going to show it infectious disease. That's the majority of what we do in hospitals. They're like, how can I do this the best way in the experiment? What protocols should I follow? How should I do this? And it advises them back. But then we follow on to other things like pattern recognition. So we look for patterns in environments. So we are working with 3 hospitals in the UK and 3 hospitals in America at the moment for deployment of sensors to detect C. diff and other infectious diseases. That's only a first in for us to get in there. The whole point is every time we tell them an alert of something that happens, so it's a lot of anomaly detection, a lot of other systems and inferences that we do. When we detect those, they actually then tell us if we were right or wrong. So they come back with like, it was C. diff. They're like, no, actually it was MRSA. And with that, we can train to so many other diseases as we go. So it's a really expanding project that we do all over. So we're also doing it, we started off actually doing it for food, and we realized the same things we were detecting in food, like certain diseases, we're able to do it in humans as well. And that's how we expanded.
There are multiple examples of entrepreneurs who focus initially, of course, in one area, but realize scalability is not just by size within that one area, but it's sort of horizontally through into other areas.
Exactly.
And AI, if anything, powers that more profoundly than almost any form of
one
technology.
of the advices we got from one of our investors was like, now you need to do 3 or 4 people's jobs at once. So they were like, don't hire more people. I was like, okay, fair enough. So we've cut down on hiring, but we're trying to grow our team as best as we can.
Thank you for that advice.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
very useful. Nathan, you are a highly experienced technologist. You have been through the various iterations of multiple different tech cycles, not so many, not that aged, but you are experienced. Tell us, is AI fundamentally the next tech thing? And these things happen, they come in cycles, there's learnings, one takes different interpretations. Or is it profoundly different than, say, the first PCs or the growth of the internet or social media? Is there something inherently different about AI?
So if we think about it, from most pieces of technology are defined by some sort of use case. So it exists and it has some limits on the edges of it. So a piece of software, the software is designed to do X, that's what it's designed to do, and so it's very edged and can be put in a box. The difference with AI is pretty much anything that your brain can think of, and we are the inputters right now. The difference is we might not be the inputters in the future, but right now that potential is the shift. So suddenly it's kind of, there aren't any edges, it's just literally a white canvas. What do you want? Where would you like to go? What would you like that to do? What is that application? And it can build to do those things. The interesting bit with it for me is there is a bit of a hype cycle. I think there's definitely a kind of, we're not really quite sure what it does, but it's pretty cool, so let's just keep playing with it. But also we're at a time when everyone has a phone, everyone is ready for tech, and that's the big shift. The last lots of things that happened, the major things, the internet happened. I was at university when the internet came out, and I was like, kind of this thing called Netscape. I was like, what's this crap? By the time I was in my 3rd year, we had the internet in our house, but we just had a very long cable that went up 3 stories, so you could plug it in a computer. But it's that shift. We know that it can do great things. We knew then that the internet is going to be pretty cool, but we didn't think it's going to do what it's going to do now. And I think that shift is definitely there. The other side is potentially how. So the really exciting bit is you've got people who are tech natives that are doing some very exciting things with AI and just going, I can do this. And I think that's the really interesting, exciting bit of breaking the norm. But at the same time, it asks, I think, a lot of questions of us. I think that's a lot of questions of society. And the world of work has come up a number of times. Why do we go to work? Do we go to work to earn money? Do we go to work to have value? Well, technically, if AI does what it's going to do and we all get very kind of go down the good path and it does wonderful things in utopian, then we don't really need to work. We don't need to earn money because just everything else will happen. Machines will do all that stuff. So then suddenly there's a different value creation. So that bit is the hard bit because I don't think anyone knows it. But at the same time, there's 1,000 biases, there's all the other problems, there's all the, as much as it's good, there's destruction. And it's also owned by a lot of very rich people who questionably kind of where their heads are going, would be something to consider as well. So I think it's a big, big thing. So it is a big shift. But at the scale of when the telephone came out, when the steam engine came out, these were massive things. They had huge transformational impacts in the world. Today it's just different because we have globalization, and so the thing when it happens, it's talked about way more, but actually the level of change from the Victorian age to now isn't any different. It's just that we measure it in a slightly different way.
I'll come to Rosie in a second. I want to join that point. But to that point, technology, of course, always changes. You could say, go earlier than the steam engine, the Gutenberg press, the profound impact that had. Go earlier. Language, the alphabet. The alphabet's the greatest creation of all time. Discuss, don't. But is there? I just want to come to this idea that technology always presents that disruptive opportunity, and how. And it's a little bit. Sorry, I will come to you, Rosie, in a sec. But it's a little bit like how Bruno was talking yesterday. Some of you looked at that and thought, bloody hell, the world's changing, we're going to lose everything. And some of you looked at it and thought, actually, no, there's loads of opportunity. Is that how you each see it? And we'll start with you, Rosie, and bring in your point you're going to make earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention about convergence, because I think why AI feels different to me from the kind of rest of the web is that it's interdisciplinary in the skills that you need. You know, across the university, we're seeing sociology and psychology departments getting involved with data scientists and machine learning. And, you know, that's unprecedented, really. You know, all these silos on a university, suddenly everyone's speaking to each other. And so I think it's an era of collaboration. We need to really ensure that people get different voices get heard as we move forward with it. You know, if we move towards artificial general intelligence, you know, that a huge disruptive event horizon that's, you know, 10, 15 years away, it's going to be a game changer. We've also got quantum computing coming down the line, and all these things are going to accelerate the already huge disruption that's going on.
Let's come on to the democratization element. Broadly, the theory is this, and indeed it's the practice, that because AI is transformative and is new, and because pretty much anyone can use it in almost any way, it means that the barriers to entry, it's a very old-fashioned tech term, the barriers to entry are lowered, and you can have businesses such as your two starting in a way that you could not have, this would not have existed 3 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. Democratization effect is that Boon or Bane, it's an opportunity for new companies. What about existing companies who are basically threatened by people who can do broadly what you do from the get-go? Now, let's talk at both ends of the scale. Let's start with you, Rohafza. Yeah.
Well, one of the most interesting things at the moment is majority of app companies that have come out, the fear of what they do is how easily they can be cloned. So the majority of what you have to do around that is like your marketing, like your brand being out there is way more important than your app itself. Like how you run, like the extra features or how you interact with people is way more important, because someone can come up in a few days now and clone your app really easily. So it's not about that anymore. It's about the data you hold. It's about what you do in the background. One of the most interesting things I learned is, so what happens when, because a lot of the data, like you said, like people using AI to answer everything and then posting that online. So then all of its training is now going to be by itself. So it's training itself. All the data becomes its own information that it's provided to you. And some of it's wrong. As you said, some people don't even look at the bottom line of what is written as an example. So that's going to become really interesting. There's going to be a little plateau and then a peak. And then we have to figure out a new way of feeding it data. Otherwise, it will become harder. Like someone wrote, it was a billboard. It was like, the reason my AI code is bad is because it learnt off of you. Honestly, yeah.
And Carl, for you and your business, I mean, you're an exact example of the ability to marshal information of scale and interpret it. But actually, ultimately, for all of us, AI is a tool, and it's going to come down to human agency. You as an individual having the zeal, desire, ability to create something. Others might create it, they can have access, but you have created. So human agency, talk about that, the personal aspect.
So I'd say with a lot of the tools that are available now, the AI development tools, it's allowed a lot of people, you might have a small process in your business that you can create or spin up a quick program or tool from using these AI tools, which can help you be more efficient, whereas previously a company wouldn't be able to facilitate that, facilitate an app for that, as there wouldn't be enough demand. But those little personal processes that are individual to each person, these tools have allowed people to kind of make small apps or small adaptations which can just make their process more efficient. So I think that's one big benefit that it's provided.
Great, let's, sorry, Rosie.
Is that called vibe coding?
Yeah, there's that too. People going crazy with vibe coding, and just people with no experience being able to code up complete apps out of nowhere. It's just pretty
Well,
mental.
when we say people with no experience able to code, there was a great story yesterday from Christian Owens at the age of 13, a little while back, learning to code from YouTube. So the ability to code, the democratization effect of technology is a continuous cycle, albeit a jarring one at times. Quick questions from the audience, please. We'll get a microphone to you. Well done, right in the middle. That's a great place for a microphone. Again, please say your name, your company, and so on, and we'll take the questions. On the whole, general to all the panelists, if possible, but maybe specific in this case.
Hi, Jessica from Keystone Law. Do you think businesses are recognising the legal issues in relation to use and deployment of AI?
Not as much as they should, honestly. One of the tools I built recently was, because so many people are doing vibe coding, there's so many flaws that come in it and like vulnerabilities that are massive, and they don't realise it until later. So I just downloaded all the law around it and started inputting that to be like a code checker that just goes, if you're vibe coding, there could be massive mistakes, but also they don't know if what they create is their own. So if AI generates it, how do you own it, or who owns that scenario? And that becomes really interesting.
I suspect lurking in Jessica's point was not the answer, download all the legal advice and case histories,
I know,
but actually talk with esteemed advisors. Sorry, Nathan.
So I used to be a CTO for a scale-up, which is working with global businesses across the world, and actually that tech business, we would every time would be asked, is there any AI in this? This was just at the beginnings of when it came out. It's like, we don't want to touch it. They wouldn't sign a contract if we said there was any AI in our systems because of the copyright issues. They just don't want to go near it. So I think that's still a massive concern. And obviously, this week in the news with Midjourney and Disney suing, I think we're going to see some big seismic shifts in that question.
We're also going to see big seismic shifts in the whole area of copyright imagery, and we've got a session with Madeline Thomas about precisely that area coming up shortly. Rosie.
I was just going to say that really, that actually in many cases the law hasn't really caught up with what people are doing, so I think that's a problem, which, I'm sure you're probably a good person to speak to.
Very good. Somewhat contrary to Rohafza's initial observation, but I'd also make the point that precisely because technology is advancing so rapidly, whilst there are several sectors, of course, which are heavily regulated, of course, law and finance, particularly those here today, this area is not. It's insufficiently regulated, but in some form it will be, and it has to be. One more question, please, if we may. Sorry, I can't see. There's a waving hand. Oh, there we are. I'm sorry, I can't see. Right in the dark. Right at the back, the furthest away from the last one. There we go. Who knew? And I'm going to come on to the effect of creating new jobs as opposed to destroying new jobs. A quick sum up on that in a sec. Yeah.
Hello. Oh, that's
Hello.
the microphone. Sorry for waving my hand. I wasn't trying to be
Sorry.
rude. So challenge for the democratization question. I think you touched on it earlier and at the end of, do you think it will be genuine democratization? Because I think as all technology, they have the power, I say they, the mysterious they, have the power to remove or start charging, like we've already seen some of the more advanced AI that can actually produce very impressive content being paid.
I'm sorry, I actually can't see you from here. Can you just say your name and company?
Oh yeah, sorry, Devanshi Chengappa from Pointer Consultancy.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Is it going to truly democratize, essentially, because there'll be some charging mechanisms potentially, amongst other things?
Probably not, if I'm honest. I think there's too much selfishness in the world at the moment. I think until what happened with the kind of open source coding and where that went needs to happen with AI. It's just too black boxed at the moment. And until that happens, I think we're not going to see some of that really, really happening. I think there's some great moves in the right directions and the right intents, but we need to see some shifts. I think the really interesting will be whether or not it becomes nation-based and that actually we end up with a UK AI engine that doesn't allow you to talk to the US engines to deal with the regulatory and all the other rubbish that we have to go through.
I think the cost structure at the moment is very skewed because there's a lot of credit around. So a lot of creators who are running AI apps and services are using credit from the big tech companies. So they're offering their products for free. And you can access ChatGPT for free. that's going to start to get expensive. The real cost of running AI is going to start to hit, and I think that's when the inequality will also follow.
And when you think about democratization of the open source code, you think of Tim Berners-Lee's vision for the internet. It is essentially free, at least to access. Think of my example of the alphabet. It is a free thing. It's an incredible tool. But coming down the line is some sort of charging mechanic. Let's talk, ask our panel about this question. And it's on the one hand and on the other. It is that blank sheet of paper point. AI is going to disrupt. Andy Salmon talked about this from Bath University yesterday strongly as well. It's going to disrupt, change, and destroy some jobs in some way. But it's also going to create. You, as technologically focused people, techs tend to be very optimistic and take a sunny outlook overall. I'm going to bifurcate it to make it a really simple point. Where do you stand net? Do you think AI is going to be productive, enhancing, or destructive when it comes to jobs overall?
Short term, I think it's going to be positive. I think it's going to remove a lot of waste in organisations and just help us to do more. So we'll see, I think, a reduction in the senior specialists and more of an enhancement in the mid levels, and probably anyone who's a middle manager is probably gone because you don't need those. So that is definitely an area where it would disappear. I think in the longer term, though, I think we are going to see a complete shift, because at the moment, most of the things we do with AI, you still need someone to do the other bit of work. So, coders, for example, we're not out of business yet, because we need to code the code that you need in order to do the AI bits. So we're all right. But already I don't need 15 coders because I can use AI to replicate a lot of the basic work we need to do. That is shifting. And I think that speed of what we see, so those skill sets and those changes, but then we all need to become prompters. I mean, no one used the word prompting 2 years ago. Now we're all like, oh yeah, do you know how to prompt? And I bet you if you went on and did some research, and bet everyone's got the word prompt in their skill set on LinkedIn.
For those who may not be wholly au fait with the term prompt in this context, would you just briefly like to explain what that means?
It's about how to instruct a piece of AI like ChatGPT to do the right thing for you. So at the moment, we're really lazy. So anyone that's old enough remembers Ask Jeeves. You'd ask it a question, it would come back with a load of rubbish, really, because search engines weren't very clever in those days. Now you can type anything you like into Google, and it'll go, I don't think that's really what you meant. I think you meant this, and it's intelligent enough to give you. And so we've become really lazy. We just, oh yeah, can you tell me about this? AI is not that way. You have to actually tell it and give it a good amount of instruction. So think about writing an essay and then putting that prompt level in, and then you'll get a good answer. So if you just ask it a really basic question, it'll just give you some random crap.
There's an old computing adage of garbage in, garbage out, and it almost relates to that point. Last question is this. It is the history of technology that this is Amara's law, essentially, that it tends to be overestimated in the short term, the hype period, the excitement. Think of the dot-com apparent boom of the early 2000s and then the bust. Overestimated short term, but underestimated long term. Do you think that applies to AI? And where are we in that cycle? Are we just in the fluffy hype phase at the moment?
Yeah, I'd say currently I think we are in the hype phase, but long term I do think it will be positive, especially in fields such as medicine and even things like climate change. I think to actually solve the climate change issue, we will need to use AI technologies to come to some solution. So I think it's going to be a rocky road initially, but I'm an optimist, so hopefully we will get there where it is positive overall.
Are we in the hype phase, Rohafza?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a very quick phase, I think. We're going to go through a hype phase. There's going to be a plateau that we hit soon. And it's a lot of the data that's around, all this big data, that stuff that came a little bit before AI, honestly, that's going to be the useful thing. No one knew what to do with it, and still some of it sits in silos. We spoke to the NHS, and they're like, we have all this data, we can't do anything with it. That's where AI will help soon, and it will organise all of that and mean so many new products come out that could actually help people. But that will take a few years. Even though they won't even let it out yet, they're not even allowing AI to touch it.
All that data is like a huge amount of arable land that isn't being farmed in a country which is full of starving people. It is out there. Rosie, where are we at? Where on the cycle?
Well, going back to my convergence point, I think we're on a roller coaster of hype curves.
A roller coaster, and the good and the bad about roller coasters, they're great fun, but they go down as well as up. Nathan?
Definitely definitely on the hype side. I mean, it's fun, right? You know, you can put together AI, you can do anything you like with it. You know, it's equivalency of when the iPhone came out and there was so many iFart apps possible. It was like, that's all we knew what to do with it, right? It's like, we're in that phase at the moment, and then it becomes really useful. But it's going to go a lot faster than we've probably expected. I think that's the difference, and those up and downs are going to come very quickly. But what we haven't seen yet is anything happen really bad. And so until something bad happens, then we become regulated, and then it becomes a much different picture.
Some of the bad stuff may already be happening through social media, through some of the promulgation of untruths. But yes, there are more profound bad things to happen. Good, something to look forward to. in terms of the scale of growth, and as a data point, try this. This is Sam Altman. He says when he looks at ChatGPT's founder, not so much that it has 800 million users, and that's doubled in 3 months, but that it only has 10% of the world's population. That is the scale of growth, but that is also down the line. That is the scale of the opportunity. We've explored, we've touched on various elements here. All discussions, AI discussions will never end, but this panel unfortunately will end. And our thanks indeed on your behalf to Rosie, Rohafza, to Carl, and especially to Nathan Baranowski of Digital Wonderlab, our partner for this session. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.